clap. Love that part. Hey, I'm Pat Jansen. This is Greasing Gears Garage. We're on Facebook Live, so if folks are joining us on Facebook Live, we appreciate it. And thanks for being with us today. What we are is we're just mechanics. We have shops, different shops all over the country. I've got Sin Central Garage in Iowa. Chris and Mark, who you'll see, have shop flat broke rods and chops in Pittsburgh. We travel around the country with all of our tools, inviting our friends up to give a little slice of life in what their garage looks like and what they specifically do, hoping to inspire people, regardless of what you're riding, to learn how to do something or take a risk and learn a skill and make your bike, a little more unique. So we just do custom bikes, and we want to invite you into our garage today. In this segment of Grease and Gears Garage, we're really fortunate today because it fits in perfectly with getting guys started or gals started and trying to feel out some things that you would need, some skills that you would need in order to build ultimately a custom motorcycle. So we got Tattoo Duke from Old School Tattoo, and Duke has just turned 32 years old. It's been a hard life, no. But Duke is kind of coming to this later in life too, kind of getting into this. And so Duke, you're going to show us some moto-sculpture, but tell us how you ended up deciding that you wanted to do moto-sculpture like up here.
Daniel Donnelly from Pandemonium Choppers built me a little Yamaha chopper that he builds that are beautiful for my 60th birthday, more or less through the magazine. Chris set it up and all the builders jumped in and helped. And just as I was getting ready to go out and help Daniel mock it up, I had a heart attack. So it put the hold on for 2 months till we got started on it, but through the grace of God, I lived through it. I had a triple bypass. So now I got a second chance at life, which doesn't happen, So I'm watching Daniel. He teaches me like how to use a lathe, how to weld a little bit, how to read a micrometer. And he's setting this motorcycle up with a laser. And I've been around bikes all my life. My grandpa started riding in 1916, and my father rode. So that's all I know is motorcycles. But hey, we had a crescent wrench and a hacksaw. So I'm watching all this, and I go, man, I want to play with that welder. I want to bend some metal. I want to have some fun here. So Daniel sort of had me build some trophies for his bike show that he has, and these are the things I build. So just step from that to have fun. And you can do it on the cheap. You can go to Harbor Freight, and for a couple $100, you got enough stuff to build stuff like this. If you got a son or daughter, you put them in the garage with you. Have some fun. So we're going to walk through one here real quick, the best we do, how I do them and stuff. I got a lot of it prefabbed already, but I'll show you how I do some things. Like I drill everything out, and then I grab a step drill, and you can make 10 different sizes holes in a couple minutes instead of switching bits. I'm going to knock this out real quick if you can see what's going on.
One of the nice things that I really love this idea, getting people used to using some tools and doing some stuff. One of the neat kind of hot rod tricks and kind of old school custom motorcycle things is speed holes, and so basically that's what Duke is doing with that step drill. You can make a speed hole, and classically it was used to lighten up motorcycles. You'd taken weight off, and so that's how you can shave weight, but also give some artistic dimension to it. With that, doing that is if you don't drill all the way through on a set of handlebars, that's how you dimple handlebars. And so any bike you've got, you can all of a sudden, people will say, hey, where'd you get those bars? Or man, how did that frame come that way? So.
Right on. Hey, and we're going to build sort of like a rocket, so you need some afterburners to get that rocket started. Just a spark plug.
So now what you've done there is you've just drilled a hole in that size in the top of the piston. You didn't thread it or anything, did you?
It's aluminum, and it'll thread itself as it goes. Hopefully it will. It usually does.
It will. It will. We've got a hammer. I'm sure we can make it stick.
Get that sucker in there.
Yeah, my dad taught me how to use a hammer. That was because he didn't have a switch. So he never hit us with a hammer, but he sure did throw it at us a lot. Maybe he just had bad aim, now that I think about it. And so you've been doing this for how long? Playing around with making the trophies and the sculptures and
About
stuff?
6 months.
About 6 months. He started playing with it, and he started making that stuff. And these, if you go to pawn shops, they have just bins upon bins upon bins of old tools. You can buy wrenches for $1 and sockets and all kinds of stuff. And most automotive shops, if you've got a machine shop that's rebuilding motors and stuff, they've got pistons just laying in trash cans all over the place. Chris, are you paying attention? Okay.
You know, 20 minutes, you got your afterburner ready. We just take some old wrenches. I speed drill them. I like that. It looks really cool. You know, old double barrel shotgun. What are you going to do with it? Don't shoot no more. Okay. I'm going to cut a couple of these off on the saw here.
This is the best part because sparks are cool. Write that down. That you need to remember that sparks are cool. Always wear gloves when you're using a chop saw. That way, if you chop your finger off, it already has its own little coffin. So you can put it down. Break it. There it goes.
Okay. Whack me off.
Got that stop saw at a government sale. Requires 3 or 4 people to work it for every cut. So. It's hard to be funny on Sunday mornings at a motorcycle show because I was funny right up till 5 o'clock this morning. That was a bad idea. It wasn't my fault though. Pat Patterson from Lead Sled Customs. He's not going to be here today. He didn't have to be. But if anybody ever sees him again, punch him in the throat. Tell him it's from me.
Bare hand.
Look at that. He just broke it like that. Yeah.
Muscle Beach is 3 miles down the road.
Clean them up on the grinder a little bit.
Don't touch them. You're cutting things.
They'll bite you now.
It'll bite you now. That stuff gets super hot when you're cutting. You got to remember that all the time. I got 4 kids. They're all grown. Our rule, I used to tell them, the hardest thing about living, and they'll all say it now, you got to pay attention all the time. The hardest thing about living. While he's doing that, you'll see that we've got other minions kind of around here doing stuff. This bike that you see on stage is called War Pony. War Pony is a custom motorcycle that we're building from the start of the show series in Long Beach all the way through the 7th show in Washington, D.C. It's gone from scratch, and we're building it, and we'll ride it off the stage in Washington, D.C. That's a bike that the Grease and Gears Garage crew is putting together. And you can go back. We Facebook Live this, and of course, then it's out there forever. But you can go back to CycleSource.com for CycleSource magazine. You can go to YouTube or whatever, and we've got all of the sessions that we've done with all the builders across the country. But you can watch that bike in that series of videos come together. So I keep telling everybody, Chris is actually going to ride it from Washington back to Pittsburgh at the last show, but he's resisting this. He says it's going to be cold.
Yeah, that next couple I sell.
All right, what do we got, Duke?
We got them. We're ready to start putting some pieces together.
You screwed up a perfectly good tool. Awesome.
Yeah, but it didn't fit anything I own. Okay. Yeah, we need the bug shield.
Oh, we need the. What do you need? Oh, the screen?
Yeah, we're gonna weld. We're ready to weld.
Duke, where are you from?
About 20 miles east of Pittsburgh.
Hey, if I'm in your way, just tell me.
I'm a hillbilly. I grew up on a farm.
You don't talk like me, and I know I'm a hillbilly. You have an accent. I sound like I'm from the Midwest, like a newscaster.
Yeah.
We use this because he's about to do a little welding. And if you look directly into the light where you're welding, you get what's called flash burn. It actually is a sunburn. It's like a sunburn on your face. A lot of people, he's going to be TIG welding. A lot of people, when they MIG weld, close their eyes and tack, and it'll do that, thinking that they're protecting their eyes, but your eyelids aren't thick enough to protect your cornea, so you're actually burning your eyes. First, you won't notice it. About an hour after you get home, you wash your face, it's like a sunburn starts shrinking up, and the next morning you wake up, you've got these nasty yellow boogers all in your eyes, and your eyes are red, itchy, and dry. So you just never want to look directly into that, so we have the screen. We're supposed to put it up when we make sparks too, because the fire marshal doesn't like sparks. It's probably a good idea. These guys that have known me for a while doing different shows. What was it? It was last year I caught my hair on fire. I mean, I got a lot of hair. I had diesel fuel on my hand and I ran it through my hair. I got under a truck, started welding. My hair caught on fire. It was bad. My dog dieseled the shop foreman. He's a boxer. Got under there and was trying to help lick the fire. But all he did was get in my way, and by the time he got done, it was all gone. Safety second.
Yep.
Water on.
We good?
Good to go.
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
So that's why these guys are up here anyway. I was talking about War Pony. We really want this to be kind of a garage environment. So if there's anything during this that you have a question about or curious about, unless it's my weight, we're pretty much open game. But you can even ask me about my weight. I'll tell you how long I've been fat. But I'll tell you right now, when I was little, my brother called me Fatrick, and all the neighborhood kids started. My name's Patrick. It's Fatrick. It's funny, right? It's not as funny. I just teared up a little. Anyway, but if you got any questions or you want to come up and take a closer look at this stuff, feel welcome. If you really need to see closer, we can get you up here and you can watch the process that he's doing. But these guys, it's just like a garage. These guys are up here working on stuff to get War Pony together. Chris and RJ are back here putting some fine line details on this tank. They have taken in the last couple of days just some round tube and found some things around here that were the right radius to bend it. They've made two of these teardrop shapes, contoured them. They're going to weld to the side of the tank. Then they're going to go back and they're going to give me my word, fill this with metal, but it's silica bronze. Going to go back and put silica bronze in there instead of body filler because it's easy to work and it just will make it nice and clean. But it's a tank that was in a trash pile. They were throwing it away at a shop.
Lies a lot.
Chris was like,
I had to.
He grabbed it, and now he's adding some detail to it, and it's going to be a really cool tank for War Pony.
Tom Rose. Nice. How you doing? Yeah, they asked us Eastwood to do a TIG demo today. They came to the
So the tank, we got it. It wasn't made for that bike. Obviously, it's a custom bike, a custom frame, and so they made a saddle for it. Just took a piece of heavy gauge steel, bent it. I'm assuming heated up and bent it, and put the tabs on it. You can buy these tabs online. They're super cheap, and you can buy them by the dozen. And so that's how the tank will mount up there. So little thing, that's what Choppers is all about. It's taking stuff you find, modifying it, making it work. Duke, are you almost done over here?
Yeah, heck.
All right.
It only takes 5 minutes to make
You want
it.
to watch with a helmet?
I do want to watch.
Use this one. That's cooler than East African Gorilla Snap.
I might just keep this one.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right on, man. You look good in it.
I do look good in it. Does it make my head look big? I know my head makes this helmet look small.
Made your butt look good. Watch your eyes, bro. We're going.
That is a nice helmet.
Isn't it?
We got Tom up here. He's supposed to be up here. He just didn't wander up. Tom is connected to the local Eastwood store and gives welding lessons and stuff. And he is going to be talking to us, and I guess this is a great time to do it. He's going to talk to us a little bit about welders, some welders that they have, and the difference in welding. So, Tom, what did you bring us, and kind of talk to us a little bit about why somebody might want this versus another one? Or
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, Tom.
I'm Tom Rose from the Eastwood store in Parma, Ohio. Morning, everybody. I was walking, brief history. I'm a blacksmith, metal fabricator by trade,
I'm good.
long-time bike rider. Wife and I are walking through the show Friday night, and she grabs me, and there's an English wheel. I don't know how many of you know what it is. So I met all these guys, invited them over to the Parma's Eastwood store. We had a great time yesterday. They were gracious enough to invite me as a rep from Eastwood to talk to you people. Eastwood primarily is in the auto restoration custom car business. We're trying real hard to expand into the motorcycle business. We offer a wide variety of tools and products for people like yourself that are into doing your own projects. Today, I brought our newest, pretty advanced TIG welder. It can do aluminum, it can do steel, it has pulse, variable frequency, programmable. You can set and save programs. All this for under $1,000. It's a great little machine. It's lightweight. It's portable. And later on, I'm going to be demonstrating it for you. For all you people in Northern Ohio, if you're not familiar with, I'd like to invite you over to Eastwood sometime. These guys all have in their possessions, so bug them, an Eastwood sticker. First off, it's good for 7 horsepower, okay? Turn the back around. This is good for 10% off on your purchase. So all the guys here on stage have them, mug them and get them, okay? Don't let them take them home.
Can we get this up?
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, guys.
So I'll tell you the cool thing about this, man. The reason why we asked Tom to be up here is what we try to do with the magazine and with Grease and Gears Garage is inspire people, educate them, get them into their garage doing stuff. And when you're working out of your own garage, you're raising a family, you're doing a 9-to-5 bit, man, and squirreling money away for tools, you want to get the best bang for your buck all the time. And we just got done doing a product review on the Lincoln Square Wave, which was a great piece of equipment for the money that it has. And we go out and we look for equipment like this to bring to you guys to show you, where the home mechanic and the garage builder can get into something it's going to give you the ability to do all the stuff that we do on the stage here without spending, thousands and thousands of dollars on a big machine. This gives you the ability to get started, get your feet wet a little bit, start doing stuff like Duke's doing, learn the tools, learn how things are working. And then as you grow into this machine, you start looking at what your options are. But This is Eastwood. You know, he said that Eastwood is just getting into motorcycles, but for us, Eastwood has been in motorcycles for a long time. I learned how to lead solder on old chopper frames using their kit. It comes with a DVD that teaches you how to do lead soldering, and so we've been using those tools for a long time. I met him. I wanted to bring him up here and hip you guys this, because you're fortunate enough that right here in town you have an actual Eastwood retail store.
Because that's a new thing that Eastwood's doing.
Yes, it is. There's 3 in all of North America: Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Chicago, and here in Parma, Ohio. Because this is, according to SEMA, this is the number 3 market in North America. So it says something about you people.
Well, how about
we knew that already too, right? Give it up, Ohio.
Now, I just was looking through the catalog there, but I've looked online. You've got, in terms of welding machines, you've probably got 12 or 16.
Yep.
There's different levels. This is a fairly high-level machine.
This is the high end.
This wouldn't be a starter machine simply because it has what Tom uses the phrase, infinite adjustability. And when you're just starting off TIG welding, you don't want to have to adjust
too much.
Yeah, you want to just
get overwhelmed.
Very basic stuff.
Right.
Because you're probably going to start off welding really common steel. You'll do a little bit of aluminum probably. Yep. You're not going to be getting into things like stainless and titanium, and that's where all of a sudden your adjustability needs to go, and you're going to be using some relatively thick material. You're not going to be welding beer cans together.
Yeah.
So this machine. So talk to us a little bit about what that starter machine actually would be like.
Our most affordable machine is 135 amp, 110 volt MIG welder.
Plug it right into your house socket.
Yep.
Wall. Yeah.
You can out the door, 300 plus tacks. All you'll need is a cylinder and a helmet and a set of gloves. You're ready to weld. One of the great things about it is most welders in that price range, and if anybody here has welded before, they will understand, on our competitors, their heat range is D-tented. A, click B, click C, click D. When you're doing very thin metal, like they're working on that tank over there, you need the ability to stave off just a little bit of heat. With our machine, infinite heat range, infinite tuning. As a welder, fabricator, blacksmith, to me, that is super important. I see beginners, I teach welding there, and I see beginners just soaring simply because I go, watch this. Take a few degrees off the heat, and that puddle is just they're controlling the puddle's not controlling them. Then we go to more powerful MIGs. We have a really good what I call an introductory TIG machine, AC/DC. I like it so much, I bought one. It's about $700. 200 amps. It will do half-inch like nobody's business. It will do aluminum. Great place if you want to start TIGging. Then when you get your chops down, step up to this bad boy. But I suggest anybody that's interested, come on into the store. Let's burn some wire, okay?
Yeah, and I've got 4 kids, they're all adults, and I'll encourage you, if you've got, my oldest son's a diesel mechanic, my youngest daughter is an archaeologist of all things, then the other 2 are in college. One's going to be a librarian. The youngest one is 6'2", looks like a young Paul Newman, and right now I think he thinks that's just enough to get him through anything in life. I don't know what he's going to do. So I tell him, we look just alike when I was young. It wears off, learn a skill. But I tell everybody, and I've told my kids, learn how to weld. So if you've got kids or grandkids or nephews, getting at one of these, even if you don't do anything else other than learn how to weld, and so that you can teach them how to weld. We don't have welders around anymore. People don't weld. There's a constant flow of jobs if a kid knows how to weld. You can always get work.
If I may, and you touched on it. Number 1, according to the Department of Labor, number 1 in-demand job in this country, nurses. Number 2, welders. You're looking at the age right here of an average welder in this country, 62 years old. There's so many different disciplines of welding, too. Not all of it's climbing poles and getting dirty. Surgical, medical, stainless welding, where you're making body parts, okay? You work in a room as clean as a hospital operating room.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense, too. I was sitting there thinking about, the three biggest job markets, doctor, lawyer, welder.
Uh-huh.
So doctor, obviously, the welder works in with that. Lawyer, somebody's got to build prisons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's
I got to go someplace for vacation.
You want your kids to make $100,000+ a year? Robotic MIG welding programmers. Industry cannot find enough of those people. Lincoln is investing $30 million+ here in Cleveland to build a laboratory, a school, just to teach how people to program these things.
So any kids you see, if you've got a kid near you, teach them how to weld. You can buy a nice TIG welder for $700 and learn how to weld yourself. It gives you something to do with them. My oldest son, I suggested strongly that he not complete his coursework in his high school because he wasn't ever going to graduate. Sent him to diesel school. He's second in his class, right? Yep. Moves to Des Moines. He was making $22 an hour until they found out he knew how to MIG weld. Now he's at 25. He's making $30 an hour, working 60 hours a week. My oldest daughter, very proud of her. 4-year degree, University of Tennessee, got student loans. She graduates, got a great job as an archaeologist. She's making $17 an hour. And she's calling me up. She's like, I think I'm going to get a part-time job at a shop around here. She lives down in Florida. So teach a kid how to weld. It doesn't matter if they become a doctor, a lawyer, a tinker toy maker, whatever. Welding is a skill that you'll use for a lifetime.
Hey, and you know what, man? Like, everybody keeps talking about the values and the family values in the United States and, like, getting back to that place. And you saw up here we had Austin Andrella and his daughter. How old's his daughter?
8 years old. Addie Andrella from Austin Martin Originals here in Ohio. There's 2 other girls in the house, our older sisters. She goes out to the shop, hangs out with her dad, 8 years old. She's learning to weld.
Yeah, and she welds.
She welds.
8 years old.
She's got a bike in the show here, a little Trail 50. It's killer.
She's up here the other day, flips her helmet down, tells everybody, watch your eyes. I was like, are you kidding me? 8 years old, man. Hey, so listen, I want to show you guys real quick something this was my score at Eastwood the other day. So
it's hot.
You're probably all familiar with these carbide bits.
I'm gonna come right.
I love these. Cleaning up welds, whether the welds that you did or when you buy a part. We use these. I've used this set right here on 4 complete motorcycle builds, and they hold up. They're great. It's a great tool.
And then yesterday you got me a set.
How many of you guys are hip to this tool already? So how many times have you had this tool and using something and you wish that it was just a half inch longer?
Yep.
Right?
That's been my problem my whole life.
I walked into Eastwood the other day, and I grabbed these so fast, I almost threw them across the room.
Yeah. Long shank.
How about that, baby? Right? I was in love with that immediately.
I really appreciate it.
I know.
Christmas comes early.
No, Chris opened that box yesterday. He handed me that box yesterday, and I nearly fainted. I was so in love with it.
Everybody, I saw this guy out here. I was like, yeah, I have a carbide. And I opened it up. He went, oh.
Those are super handy. We're tool nerds. Now let's get back over here. Okay, Duke, you've been over here slaving away, sweating, thinking, welding. What have you got? Show us what you did.
Got a hot hunk of metal.
Yeah, that's hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put your tongue on it. Right?
Cool.
Yeah. In that much time.
An hour's worth of fun.
And what was your plan when you started with that?
I didn't have one.
Yep.
Didn't have one. He just had a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And he said,
it evolves.
It evolves. And he's welding, and he's putting it together, and eventually it's going to be a piece of moto-sculpture. Can you imagine? I mean, how cool is that to be able to, you're into cars, you're into motorcycles or whatever, you give those as Christmas presents to people, have them around your home. If you know anything about going to Home Depot, you open the door, they've got a whole lamp kit. You can run up on that thing, you can make it a lamp. So, really nice, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, now, are you done with this? What are you going to do?
I'll do a couple more things.
Just play around a little.
Just play, You can do anything you want, And
what piston head wouldn't want one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you sell a couple, then you can go back and buy some more tools.
Yeah.
You know, like everything I've been selling for a while, I've been putting back into it to buy more tools to get better stuff to make it easier.
I made my wife, and I say this every day. It's my terrible joke, probably not my worst, but it's the most consistent one because I can weld. My wife assumes I'm a carpenter. I don't know where she gets that. The only thing I know how to do with a piece of wood is cut it too short and burn it. The only two things I've ever done with a piece of wood. But so she wanted library shelves in the house, but I can weld, so I go get steel. I said, you're getting industrial library shelves. And they're really cool looking. I liked them, you know. I mean, you know, so I put these shelves together. She has a brunch, which, by the way, is just an early lunch or a late breakfast. I don't even understand why they do it, but you have to drink at them apparently because that's what these girls do. They came in, and one of the girls said, could you make me a set of those? Like, I really don't do that. My wife's been trying to get me to make furniture for years. $1,200.
Yeah.
And then another girl comes, and my wife says, you got to charge double because they're $3,600 in the store. And I was like, $2,400. I mean, so apparently I'm not going to build any more motorcycles. I'm going to start building furniture. But no,
your career's expanding.
Yeah, my career's expanding, which is about time because I've been looking for a career for about 50 years now. But yeah, it's just fun. So once you learn how to do this, you can start learning how to do all kinds of cool stuff. Now, Duke, were you doing anything else? Were you making another one, or is that it?
No, we're good.
We're good. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Duke for being up here.
Thank you for having
what an awesome guy.
Thank
this
you.
guy is just so nice.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him. It's just, it's hard to believe. Now, Tom, can you give us directions to the store?
Yeah.
From here?
Ridge Road in Parma, about 3/4 of a mile south of I-480, just a little bit before Snow Road. We've got catalogs in front here. Help yourself. They have the directions there and the phone number.
All right.
Hope you all stop in.
Now you're gonna show us some welding now, right?
I believe so.
You're gonna give us a welding lesson. Where do you want to do it? You want to do it on this table?
If I have 220 power over there.
Hey, we got He's gonna bring the 220 over.
Very good. Yeah, we'll get set up and
right.
We'll do some tigging.
All right. Anybody particularly interested that would like you come up here? Yeah.
If anybody wants to watch, I brought an extra helmet.
Yeah, you that needs a haircut.
You want to stick your face in there and see what's really going on?
You can come around the side of the ramp. Does he hurt himself a lot? He's having a hard time getting on stage. Just wondering. I didn't know if you took the helmet off just to bring him out. What's your name? Bruce. All right, Bruce, you're going to play with Tom. We got 2 welding helmets. Tom's going to give you a little lesson. How's that?
Bruce, Tom Rose, man, how you doing? How old are you?
Huh?
Good.
Yeah,
all right,
Bruce,
got any interest in
gonna
welding?
give Bruce a welding lesson.
Good for you, man. Where you at? What level?
Oh, let me.
Mig, TIG.
I need to get him. Where is that microphone?
Stick. It's tough discipline, isn't it? You got to maintain your angle, and the rod keeps getting short. You into vertical ups yet? Vertical up sticks. Those are tough, aren't they?
You just talk right into that when you answer.
Yeah.
It'll work like a microphone.
Where do you plan to go? Construction?
I don't know.
Norfolk Shipyard. You want to make 50-some
Sir?
bucks an hour?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Seriously. They put a
should've asked.
proposal to the Navy to build 3 aircraft carriers at one time. The cost savings will be tremendous. Average shipyard welder, I think, makes 50+ bucks an hour. It's good work. And you will know how to weld when you're done with them.
This is a
All right, we're getting some power set up. Give me a few minutes to get set up. Have you taken before?
timing.
First time? All right, we're going to do aluminum. Everybody says aluminum is so tough. Well, let's get his opinion on how tough aluminum is, huh? What do you think, Duke? You like that? Duke? Tell him, Duke.
I went to the shop yesterday, and I've never touched nothing like this. And in 10 minutes, but the man got the knowledge, and he's a great teacher. He talked me right through it.
It's so big,
It's all good, brother. He talked me through it, and I throwed 3 nice beads on a piece of aluminum like nothing was going on. It was as easy as like buttering your toast. You know, it was a pleasure to get taught by a man that knew what he was doing. Was the ticket to teach me what to do. It was a
I'll
great,
tell you what,
great
I got
experience.
everything hooked up. Could I get Could you gentlemen give me some? Yeah, I'll grab cables.
And I'll just carry box.
Okay, wait. The foot pedal is
right here. Dude, can you? Bruce, can you bring
hired.
that over? You're hired. Bring this over with the cable.
You're an official roadie now.
You want it on the ground or on the table?
Up on top. Yeah. Fantastic.
All right, I'll let you move it around. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
What great time to actually have a young
Bruce?
guy. We can teach him how to weld. He's going to go make a lot of money tomorrow.
Okay. All right, let's move this down here.
I actually have a good friend,
a regulator,
Nate Beck, who's a fabulous musician. He's the director of a School of Rock in Minneapolis.
Big, 100%.
And 6 years ago, when Progressive started sponsoring this show, we had the School of Rock on stage every year, and so I saw him every year. He'd never been around motorcycles. He got excited about them. He just graduated from welding school, and instead of being a professional musician, he decided to be a professional welder. And we had him up on stage in Minneapolis. He came by the show. We got him up here, and he was TIG welding stuff for us. And now his dream is to open his own custom motorcycle shop. So it's really cool, you know. I mean, a young guy, and he said, you know, music doesn't necessarily pay that well, but it's something he can do for a lifetime. And now he's developed another skill. So it's cool to see people grow into it, but welding is where it starts. And ladies, there's nothing hotter than a woman that can weld. I tell you that right now. My heart.
Nice table. Yeah, they are. Let me get some electrodes. You just hang on. I'll tell you what. I think they're bringing a bottle. Stay on that side if you would.
So far, you're doing great.
He is. He is a highly.
You haven't tripped. You haven't said a bad word, which is hard for all of us. RJ Powell.
Don't give me a mic.
This guy in the back. RJ says he stutters when he's up here because he's trying not to drop the F-bomb. He does it every other word, and they asked us not.
Am I regulated?
It's hard for guys like us.
Cool.
Particularly when you cut yourself. RJ was bleeding yesterday.
11 to 13 CFHs. We open. Bottles open. All right. Let's put an electrode in.
All right. So what they're doing is they're getting this set up with a TIG welder.
Grab the helmets.
Some TIG welders will run off a 110 plug.
Beautiful thing.
But that is going to diminish the amount of. Tom's going to correct me here because I taught myself everything in a wooden building growing up. So I mean everything, not just about welding. That wooden building was very important to me. But you want to, when you're welding things like aluminum, you're going to want to get more heat.
You know what I mean?
And you can't do this. You need more amperage. So we've got a 220 plug. It's the same kind of plug that you would plug your dryer into, and so at the house. So if you get a TIG machine and you want to say, well, I don't even have any place to plug it in. All you got to do is call an electrician. They're going to go in your garage, typically where your fuse panel is. They're going to cut a hole right below it, and they're going to drop one of those plugs for you right below there. It's going to cost you about $120 to have them do it. And you can plug your TIG welder in. You can go to Tractor Supply, any place. You can buy these long pieces of cord, put two ends on them, plug ends, make a long extension cord for 220. Typically, everybody I know has a 50-foot one. You can walk your welder outside. You can take it all the way across the garage. So it's really easy to set up. You just plug it in. You hook your gas up. Cables can only hook up in one place on these machines. So you hook your cables up, and you go at it.
All right.
And Tom, kind of talk to all of us about what you're doing, setting that up.
We powered the machine up. Let's triple check that the gas is on, because that is super important with TIG. 100% pure argon. The gas is on. Good. With MIG, 75-25, argon, CO2, 80-20, but today we're running straight argon for TIGging. We're in the AC TIG mode. Aluminum, you weld with alternating current, which I'm sure you already know. Mild steel is DC current. Today we're going to do aluminum. We're going to go into the pulse mode. All right? Are you familiar with what pulse is? Pulse is when you're welding, in a sense, the non-pulse mode, you're getting a straight voltage, a straight amperage as the arc is flowing, right? Okay, with pulse, why it was created, when you're working, this is fairly thick aluminum, so it's easy to weld, but if you're going to do work on like that tank right there, thin gauge, which you know it's real easy to blast through because of too much heat, in a sense, what pulse is, you get a blast of energy, and then it cools. And then another blast, and then it cools. The standing joke in a bar, how do you tell an old Tigger? His foot's going like this. With TIG, you can control your heat with the puddle, or with the pedal, okay? With these new generations, with this machine, you can dial in the pulse rate, the intensity of it. I've got it set right now, 112 amps for the high end, okay? Then it'll drop down to, we'll set it like 30 amps. You can set it how often, how many times a second it hits, what percentage is on your high end, what percentage is on your low end. It gets kind of complicated, doesn't it? Once you understand what all this stuff does, the welds you can lay down are just amazing.
Because what you're going to do is as soon as you get started doing it, all that's going to make sense all of a sudden. Because
Exactly.
you're going to be able to visually see all of that.
The light flashing,
Science happening.
bright,
Yeah.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that being said, let's get her set up. Now, we're going to find out where everything is at. This graph right here represents, this is your pre-gas. With TIG welding, before you strike the arc, the area is flooded with argon, shielding gas. So no porosity, no oxygen, no atmosphere gets in. We've got that at 1/10 of a second. We like that setting. Our startup amperage, 20 amps. What that means is I can start the arc. Wait a minute. It'd help if I had some rod.
Yeah, that's going to be important.
That makes it
later.
easier. For those that do TIG, I highly recommend.
Where's our?
Your standard wire is about 30 inches long. Cut them in half. The reason being,
It looks like it.
you know, it's like they say when you ride a motorcycle, it's not if you're going to crash, it's when.
We have one.
You have a long piece like this, a long one, you stick the rod, everything's hot, it hits your shoulder, it hits your neck, this thing turns white hot right now. See the marks? Ask me how I
Mine
know.
always pokes through my shirt and gets me right under my
Yeah.
left man boob.
Good practice. No, I got it. I got an electrode in there.
okay,
Thanks, man.
okay.
I brought my own. Thank
I didn't
you.
know if it was sharpened or not. So, all right.
So it's a good idea. Cut them in half, easier to control. All right. Where was we? Low amps.
Yeah.
20 amps. What this does, we're going to start an arc.
Show them how to do that. Though.
All right. I've got current flowing, not enough to create a puddle yet,
like that.
okay? But I want to get ready, get acclimated, so I can get my rod, get my where I really want to go with this thing, and then it will ramp up in 1.5 seconds. It'll ramp up to my top end temperature, 112 amps, okay?
Because you don't. Yeah.
All right.
Not so quick.
That's
It's,
my high-end,
that's
in
good.
a sense, blast of energy. When the drops down to the other side of the pulse, I'm at 40 amps. How many people are today that row of dimes look is really in vogue? You know, you see it on valve covers, on cars, air cleaners, stuff like that. When I was in school for welding, they took points off for that. They wanted one fluid bead,
Yep.
real tight C's. Is one better than the other? Open for discussion. All right. But this enables you to do that, to get that big row of dimes look. So what this does, by dropping down, it allows that momentary puddle to freeze. Then you lay your next one on top of it. And you can set your pulse rate, how fast you're laying them down. It's a sense, it's your freeze rate. Where it really pays huge dividends is like if you're doing on that tank right there. It lessens the chance of burn through. Okay.
Because if you're doing it by foot or by trigger, it's really easy to. I mean,
Overcompensate.
yeah. I mean, you can put because your foot or your fingers putting that heat in there.
Yep.
And you'll blow a hole. You can blow a hole as big as your thumb, and when you do that, it's scrap. I mean, in a tank, it's not going to hold.
It's art.
Yeah, it becomes art.
Yeah.
Just send it to Duke.
Yeah. We got donations. All right. So our downward slope right here, 0.8 of a second. You're getting down to the end of your weld, especially with aluminum. You should never weld aluminum. Point for all you people. Try to avoid welding aluminum all the way to the end. The reason being, aluminum absorbs heat so fast, when you get down to the end here, there's nowhere for that heat to go, so it ends up in your boots. The proper way to weld, you're hired. We're going to weld these two pieces together. The proper way to do it is tack, tack. Start here, 50% of the way. Stop. Start here, 50% of the way, 1/4 inch overlap. That's AWS standards, okay? That's how you prevent the blow-throughs at the end. You can compensate by letting off the pedal and everything, but once you know the nature of aluminum, it's a lot less forgiving than mild or stainless, okay? All right, so we got 0.8 on our low end. Our post gas is way too high at 20. No, that's our low end amperage. Okay, there, good.
For you guys that are just joining us either on Facebook Live or around here, this is Grease and Gears Garage. We're just a bunch of dirty mechanics.
Within the next hour.
And we go around the country, we take our tools around, we invite friends up to give a little slice of what it looks like in a garage to do one thing that they specifically do. And today what we've got is Tom from the local Eastwood store, and our volunteer that really didn't volunteer as much as I pointed and called him up here. Very good. He was well parented because he obeyed. And he just walked up. But Bruce is getting a lesson on how to TIG weld. How exciting is that? How many people out there would like to know how to TIG weld? Yeah. And Tom teaches that here at the local Eastwood store in Parma. And it's one of only 3 Eastwood stores in North America, the retail stores. They've determined that this is the 3rd best market in the country for that. And so I'm going to put this up here so you don't get flash burn, which again is like a sunburn on your eyeballs and face.
Okay.
So right now what we're doing is we're talking about how nice it is to be able to learn a skill. Welding. Everybody needs to know how to weld. I know that sounds stupid. You can say, just like everybody needs to know how to read. Tom was telling us earlier, the statistics are out there. Number 1 job that is falling behind that we don't have enough people to fill, nurses. Number 2, welders. Average age of a welder, Tom tells us, is 62 years old. We don't have people that can weld anything anymore. So we were talking about if you've got kids or nephews, nieces, grandkids, boy or girl, you can go to Eastwood, you can pick up a welder, you and him learn how to weld together. That's a skill they'll have for the rest of their lives. I've got 4 kids, they're all adults, they're all learning how to weld. 3 of them are going to be college graduates. One of them's a certified diesel mechanic because he knows how to weld. Instead of making $22 an hour in Iowa, he makes $30 an hour. Welding is a skill that you can use any place, even if you're a school teacher. And if you know how to weld on the weekends, you put out a sign in your yard that says welding, you're going to have people there every day driving you crazy to weld up broken fenders on trailers, welding bits and pieces of stuff that they have around the house that has come loose, shelf. You'll be amazed at the kind of weird stuff people want to get welded. And so welding is a skill, and that we just got so fortunate when we're talking about how important it is to teach young people how to weld. And Bruce volunteered, and he's getting excellent instruction from a welder, a lifelong welder and welding teacher. So that really worked out good for him. It's probably going to cost his dad a little bit of money later, but Tom was generous enough to bring us these stickers. And on the back of the Eastwood sticker, on the back of them, it's got 10% off. When you go to the Parma store here, you can get 10% off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these.
What I'm doing right now.
It's catalog. I tell you what, will you just start passing those catalogs just kind of around for me? Just pass them back. That might be messy. And and I'll set these down here. If anybody wants one of those 10% off stickers, they're down here in the front. So
actually is not aluminum. Do you know that? You're looking at aluminum oxide, rust. Aluminum, this is one problem beginning welders have. Aluminum oxide goes molten about 2,500 degrees. Anybody ever look on the back of their sanding discs? What do you see? Aluminum oxide? You ever see that printed on there? That's pretty tough stuff. It's tough enough that they use it as a grinding material for sandpaper and sanding discs, all right? Aluminum, pure aluminum, goes molten at about 1330, 1350. With these high-frequency machines, you can do what's known as a cleaning process, which we're going to do in a second. I'm going to turn up my heat a little more. And in a circular motion, we're going to clean, and we look for the puddle to start. Okay? So that's what's going on there.
My calf's gotten bigger, and it's not from working out. I keep this.
All right, one more time. Fire in the hole.
Again, if you just joined us, one reason why you can't see this on the screens, we actually, at the first couple of shows when we were welding, they were really kind, and they would point the camera at the weld so that you could see it on the screens until the boss showed up, who has to, I guess, replace the cameras. It turns out it's just like the cornea in our eyes. We were destroying very expensive camera equipment. So now we can't really do that, but hopefully you can see a little bit through this red screen. We're doing that again because you get flash burn. It's like a sunburn on your face and on your eyes.
Wow.
Even closing your eyes doesn't help because your eyelids aren't thick enough to protect your eyes. So never look directly into a weld. Always wear a mask. I see a lot of guys now that are getting the welding goggles. I don't get that at all. I mean, you're going to burn your face.
Let me try.
Yeah, you're going to. It's just a bad idea. So, yeah, Mark says you get the Donald Trump look. It'll all be white here and red around there. It's not a critique on his presidency. I don't want anybody writing the show saying, man, that guy on stage was making political commentary. I don't even watch the news anymore. Oh.
One more time.
We got young Bruce up here. Bruce is getting his first lesson
There
in
we
TIG
go.
welding.
Can you see that light pulsing?
Talking about the pulse.
I'm getting my rod in place. I'm losing voltage here, folks.
Mark,
I'm wondering if... See that?
Mark.
I'm
Mark.
losing voltage. I'm losing voltage somewhere.
I didn't do it.
I know. She's starting okay, and then she's getting cold as heck on me. I'm wondering if there's an imbalance because of all the circuit lines.
Could be.
Am I direct in? Okay. Let's try one more time. Yeah, instead of going through the table, we'll try that.
Come up here and talk to me.
Let's try that.
to me.
Let me double stack and try that.
This is Chris Callan.
One thing.
I like to say this. Founder, owner, editor, Cycle Source Magazine. And he is all of those things.
Okay.
But Chris, when did you learn to weld?
I'm actually still learning to weld. So
You never stop learning to weld. If you stop learning, if you say there's nothing else to learn weld, then you just told yourself a lie.
you know what I thought was really really interesting? Tom's talking and tells you guys that, like, we all call it on Instagram weld porn, where everybody's putting pictures of the stacking dimes and their perfect welds. It was neat to hear that back when he was in school, they took points away for that, because I'm kind of like, I'm still learning to weld. I've been doing it for, TIG welding I've been doing for about 6 years now. But I really don't concern myself with that finished look like that, because I always come back in, because I'm also old school with my bike building, and I'm either doing lead soldering over it or I'm doing silica bronze over it. So I don't really care what the weld looks like. Right. I try to make it nice so I don't have extra work to do. But it's really interesting to hear from somebody like him who, that was something they didn't even think about. And today, that's like, for a lot of guys,
huge.
that's the most important thing is showing off those
Stacking
welds.
dimes for dollars, man. You hear that all the time. Guys want to stack those dimes. That was good to hear. But because you're right. I mean, most welds are going to be finished in some capacity anyway. You're not just going to leave them bare. If you are leaving them bare, you're really just showing off, your welding skills. I mean, that's really why you would leave a weld bare.
And that's six
place
of
for
one,
it.
half dozen of the other.
It's art, whatever.
I'm more impressed when I see a guy take dissimilar metals. You know what I mean? When you see somebody that knows enough about welding that they can take a piece of stainless and a piece of mild steel and they can put that together.
Yeah.
However, if they end up stacking dimes, that's great. But getting dissimilar metals together.
Well, I can tell you easy how to do that. It's called JB Weld. And it comes in putty and you just push it together. No, that's not it.
I've seen your JB Weld work. we were at a show in North Carolina. Pat had made these beautiful trophies with these plaque and a beer can on top of it. And he said, "Hey, look at my trophy." It spun around. The whole thing went flying across the floor. I don't know what you did in your prep for the JB Weld, but it wasn't working.
It was not working. I had to put a full 24-ounce Path Blue ribbon can on a dirty old diesel truck piston, which was at the base of the trophy, and I couldn't get it to stick for shit. For anything. I said a bad word. But they were videoing me with these things, talking about the awards, and I go like this, and the beer can and the whole thing it fell off, and then I dropped the trophy. It was terrible.
Let me see if I can get RJ's been back here working tirelessly, prepping some more on this tank. Let me see if we can bring it up. Where's your little panel?
See one thing.
RJ's one of those guys in the shop that you can tell he's never worked flat rate. He's really, really good, but he takes things to an unhealthy level sometimes.
Slow. That's the level.
Like I said, we had made this little piece for in here, this saddle, and we knew our tunnel was going to be too deep, so RJ made this great little panel to fit in here, and we're going to weld it up.
He actually did a really nice job with that.
He did.
Yeah.
He did, which kills me because after all that time, I wanted it to be bad.
Well, that's going to be seen a lot, so it's important to have that little panel up there. Again, if you're just joining us Facebook Live or here just kind of wandering through, we're Grease and Gears Garage. We're mechanics. We take tools around the country on stages, invite our friends up, like Tom has given a young Bruce from the audience his first lesson in TIG welding. We build motorcycles predominantly, and so that's what Grease and Gears Garage stage is about. We're just inviting you to kind of hang out in our garage for a little bit and see kind of how that works. So we're building a bike from scratch, ground up over there, War Pony, over the 7-show Progressive International Motorcycle Show Series. We started with just a raw frame, and by the time we get to the Washington, D.C. show, we'll ride that off stage.
This is a great thing to talk about, too, because a lot of people are talking about how, motorcycling is in a downward trend right now, and the industry is a little bit slow, but for anybody who's like a garage guy like us, this is one of the best times that there is, because there is literally warehouses full of motorcycles right now that are going for really good money. We started with this one specifically to show you guys. This was a 2003 Ultra that was totaled. It was my bike that a friend of mine borrowed. He totaled it. We bought it back from the insurance company. So this is literally a bike that you could buy from an insurance company for the same $2,000, $2,500. Still had a good motor, good transmission. A lot of bits and pieces that you could pull off of it. We went to Paco, who makes an FXR style chassis that slides that drive line right into it. So really, that initial $2,000 investment to buy the parts bike from, a few $100s from Paco for the frame. We found a $600 GSXR front end on Craigslist.
That included the brakes,
everything, Tokiko brakes, everything on, even the controls came with it.
Yeah.
So for that $600 investment, we're still under $4,000 when we got, the majority of a chassis with motor and transmission and everything. So this is a great time to be involved. If you're willing to put a little effort in and go after some of this stuff yourself, you can figure this out. There's guys out there, more people in this industry right now with more knowledge than there's ever been before. This stuff has moved up to such a level. And we brought this to mind. If you guys have been reading the magazine for a long time, we have a motorcycle that's pretty famous called the Ticket, and it was a tribute to Hunter Thompson. It's an old 49 Panhead. It says, buy the ticket on one side of the tank, take the ride on the other. But when we built that motorcycle, I built it as a tribute to my old man and his buddies, because in my head as a kid, they rode, you know, magical machines like filled with unicorn pee. They were just the most perfect motorcycles that there ever were. So I wanted to build a bike in tribute to that. And I worked tirelessly, man, to make the perfect motorcycle. And I didn't have any pictures because I had long since lost a lot of stuff in a fire. But I was building it out of my memory. And here, right about the time we're in final assembly, an old friend of my dad stops by the shop, and he had a shoebox with pictures in it. And I'm like, oh, man, this is awesome, because we can see, like, you know, how my memory was compared to what that bike came out like and compared to theirs. And he started flipping through these pictures, and I was like, they were horrible.
Yeah.
Nothing fit right. The welds were big, chunky.
They
like
stick welded them, yeah.
But in my mind, they were so perfect that the reality was, where the industry was, these guys were using parts from different manufacturers' motorcycles, and they were working guys, so they were cobbling the stuff the best they could, putting it together. But you know, it's inspired this whole generation who knows how to use the English wheel to weld the similar metals, to use a planishing hammer.
It's a great time for
It
you
really
guys.
is.
If you ever thought about customizing a motorcycle or building one, it's a great time. Jack,
We want to hire this guy. That was my
Can weld.
my
look
my
at that.
question was
Already.
gonna be
Give
that
Bruce a
we would
hand,
have
man.
a-
That's his first
One
stick
more.
welding
This
lesson.
cat can weld.
I was going to
Okay,
ask him
show
if we
me
had a
again.
stamp
Show me it
collector
wasn't
or
a
a welder,
fluke.
because that's one of Bruce's famous lines. If he gets a guy in the shop that's
see a little
not doing too good on the weld machine, he tell him,
deeper
you know,
angle, more
there's
deep.
still stamp collector. You're going to be okay.
Man.
Jackie, tell us what you got going on in this chop shop.
Thanks, Pat. Hey, folks, if you're just now heading over here, we are right in the middle of another awesome presentation from the folks at Grease and Gears Garage, giving you all sorts of awesome insider tips and techniques on how to customize and build your perfect motorcycle. But stick around, they're not quite done yet. But here in the parlor, we are still hooking you up. And this is it, folks. Last day here at the Big Bike Show to take advantage of getting that free barbershop service from our friends back there at Shed Barbershop, Austin, Texas. Go back there and get yourself signed up. They are A++, the best in the business beer handlers back there, and that service is absolutely free here at the Progressive Parlor back at Flo's Chop Shop. The Chop Shop is also home to our in-house resident mechanic, Daniel, back there working away on that Yamaha. If you got any questions about how to work on your bike, maybe changing the oil or putting in a battery or changing the fork seals and fork oil, whatever you got, he would love to answer your questions. So head back there and feel free to pick his brain. Here in the parlor, though, we are still hooking you up also with absolutely free, absolutely awesome, absolutely realistic and lifelike and guaranteed to freak out your boss tomorrow at work. Airbrush tattoos going on over here. Come on over and get signed up. It's all absolutely free. And when you get entered for any of these awesome services or to win our current grand prize giveaway motorcycle, I'm going to throw in a free hat or t-shirt just because we can. Come on in, folks. The fun ain't over quite yet. We are just in the middle of a super rock and roll last day here at the Big Bike Show here at the Progressive Parlor and Progressive Main Stage.
Thank you, Jackie. And just to let you know, I'm not exclusive with any of the Progressive girls or Jackie. The blonde and I have a kind of a little thing going. But if you don't start putting out, if I don't get a little more back, it's just creepy at that point. I mean, then it's just creepy. So I need a little back. It doesn't work for me. And I mean, in the spitting when I walk by, that's the route. No, thank you. So now go see the girls. They're all fun. They like to have a good time. This is their last day, so they're excited because they've been standing up smiling for 3 days now. So they're ready to frown and not have shoes on. But does anybody have any questions about TIG welding that you want to ask Tom?
Layer of aluminum around it. The current's not.
Did you get a sticker, sir?
Try one more time.
You can go to the local store here. Eastwood has actually one of three. It's here in Palm. Get 10% off anything they got in the store. Yes, sir. Take one for you and one for him, too. Hey, did you get a catalog? Okay, great. That's Dad. Dad is excited now because he knows that when Bruce turns 18, he has no excuse for not being able to feed himself, because he said, I took you to the motorcycle show and I got you a TIG welding lesson. You can go get a job. You should have paid better attention. So He's off the hook. When Bruce turns 18, he doesn't have to feed him. I got 4 kids. They're all adults. I used to want them all to be healthy, happy, and successful when they were babies, because they're cute when they're babies, right? They're like puppies.
Start down a little bit. Let's start.
About 12 years old, I was like, I really just want them to be healthy and successful. Healthy because legally they have to be, or you get arrested. And successful because I wanted them not to have to feed them forever. At 16, I just wanted them to be successful. I really didn't care if they ate. I just wanted to be successful so that someday they weren't in my house. At 18, I just wanted them the hell out of my house. And so that's kind of the progression. God gives you teenagers so you don't keep them. That's why cute babies become teenagers, so you don't keep them. So that's the rule. But Bruce is learning a great skill up here. Again, Grease and Gears Garage. We have Tom, who teaches welding at the local Eastwood store. He's giving Bruce a lesson. We're just greasy mechanics that are inviting you into our garage for a little bit to let you know what it feels like to do some of what we do and to encourage you to go out and do it yourself. Everybody can do something custom to their motorcycle, whether it's a dirt bike or a dresser. You can do a little something. When your buddies see it, they're going to say, wow, man, that's really trick. So these sculptures up here, you're welcome to come look at. We got a good friend, Tattoo Duke, and he came up here and showed us. He's been building these he started 6 months ago just trying to make a moto-sculpture, and this is what he came up with. And this is a great way, once you get your first welder, to really begin practicing welding and working at it. So you guys can grab a catalog there if you want it. Learn how to weld. Okay? Don't just shake your head and do that. Oh, can you? You can already weld. That's perfect. Teach them. You'll always be able to feed yourself. I'm big on people feeding themselves. Not a political statement. Kind of a political statement. Feed yourself. Everybody, you know what? No, nice. I'll go there. It's Sunday. What do I care? What I don't understand is, we always say, they're hungry, people are hungry. Everybody has a windowsill, right? And the sun shines equally on every man's neck. How hard would it be for people to grow vegetables on a windowsill? Why don't we just give packets of seeds to people that are hungry? Has anybody ever heard that as a suggestion? I never have. I never hear that as being a suggestion. Grow food. I mean, it's pretty simple. You take your finger, you shove a seed in dirt, you water it a little bit, and you put it in the sun, and later you pick the food off and you eat it. It's healthy food. Let's start passing that little nugget around. I'm big on people feeding themselves. I like that. What do we got, Tom? We need some help?
I want him to take this blank with them.
Bruce, how are you I don't have a microphone on me now.
I hear you.
Yeah, I was going to ask Bruce, and I don't want him to have to talk into your chest. What did I do with the hell? It's back to where it's supposed to be.
We're going to cool that. You take it with... Great job, man. You stay in the trades, you can weld.
Bruce, that's like an ice cream cone. Here, I'll just put it where it has to be. Bruce, how old are you?
16.
16 years old. And do you have any design on what maybe you'd like to do someday for a living yet?
I want to go to the military and weld.
You want to go in the military and weld. Man, I tell you what, the military is a great place to go for a welder, too. Turns out, everything the military has is green and metal. So it's a great place to go if you're a welder. And when you get out of there, when he was talking about the programmed welding that is huge, and we have a shortage of those welders, the military is a great place to go get that free education. You get paid to be educated to, when you get out, get a 6-figure job doing that kind of stuff. So
and they get state-of-the-art equipment. They get the best before industry gets it.
Yep.
1977, I was in the Norfolk shipyards. I saw them cutting 16-inch bulkheads with water. They said, I had to sign a waiver. If you talk about this, you could go to prison for 10 years.
And now everybody's got a water jet in their shop, yeah.
You know how much energy it takes to move a 16-inch slab of steel, this whole area, around?
Not much.
Air bearings. This was so cutting edge at the time. And they said, you cannot talk about this.
Yep.
You learn how to operate that stuff there. By the time it hits industry, you write your own paycheck.
There you go.
You write your own program.
Bruce, thank you so much for playing along. I appreciate it. Glad you got up.
Man.
Tom, thank you.
Stop in and see me sometime at Eastwood. You from around here? We're in
We got
Parma.
it.
Stop
All
in
right.
and say hi sometime. We'll do some more tigging, okay?
Absolutely. Your dad's got a couple of 10% off coupons.
Cool.
When's your birthday?
May 23rd.
May 23rd. What's it? Easter. Your Easter basket. Maybe I have a welder in it. Thank you guys.
Good job,
really
man.
appreciate it. We're going to get Duke back up here, who was making the moto-sculpture, and he's going to come back up and help out on the tank. I can't believe you haven't made him do all the welding.
No.
Yesterday, we had a buddy come up with the guy that does all the work in his shop, Joe from Lead Sled, and he made him start working for free.
I like the guy.
Listen, let me ask you guys a question. When your buddy stops over to your shop and your buddy is a better painter than you, a better welder than you, or just has an extra set of hands, you put him to work, right?
Yep.
That's what you do.
You give him a beer.
Hey, look, beer and pizza is on me today at the shop. Stop over. I got something I want you to look at.
Yeah.
I want to look at it with your hands. Exactly.
What do you think?
Yep. So, well, Chris,
You got it, man. Sure.
we're getting Duke back up here. Duke, what we're doing with this tank is the whole idea behind a chopper, and this is the way it is in a garage. You bounce around, you do different things. So we've had Duke show us how to do moto-sculpture in this segment. We've had Tom give a TIG lesson. Hey, thank you guys so much.
I got it. I'll be out here
for
as fast as I
participating.
can.
Bruce, thank you.
Chris, thanks a million, man.
Good luck. Young man wants to go in the military and be a welder. I'm
That's
excited
huge.
about
You might as
that.
well just leave
And we've had Tom give a TIG lesson, and now what we're doing is we're working on
I
War
had my
Pony,
way, I
which is a
would.
motorcycle that we started
Wanna run
in
it?
Long Beach,
You wanna use
California,
this?
at
You're
the
gonna
first
work on it.
Progressive International Motorcycle Show. And we're building it consistently with builder friends that we get up here on Grease and Gears Garage Stage. And by Washington, the last show, we're going to ride that bike off the stage. I keep telling Chris he's going to ride it from Washington to Pittsburgh where he lives. Chris isn't as excited when I say that we're going to ride it off the stage. We're going to ride that off the stage. It's going to be fine.
No, because we literally started in November at Long Beach with a bare frame. And right from there, Pat starts saying, when we get to Washington, he's going to ride it off the stage. There's no wiring on that bike.
There is going to be by the time we get to Washington, there will
But there's no wiring. There's no. That's not even the real motor. The
Yeah,
real
but-
motor's still getting worked on at Zippers. But
we've got 3 more shows. We're
There's
about to be
no-
in Dallas.
there's no brake lines.
Then we're going to Chicago.
There's
Then we'll
no
be in
fuel
Washington.
pump.
Yeah, but
we don't even know how we're mounting the front fender yet.
Yeah, no. If they don't get the brakes on it, they're going to let me ride it. It's going to be finished. We're going to do it. It's going to be great. It's going to be exciting to hear that thing start up and ride off stage.
I love when they say this stuff because everybody in the garage will look at me and say, "We got faith in you, man."
Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then me and Mark are in a garage.
Yeah, because if
till
it doesn't
4:30 in the
happen, I'm going to
morning.
turn around and say, I gave it my best. I encouraged them as hard as I could to get it.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? How are you? Right on. Good to see you.
So
Yeah.
Chris has, but anyway, choppers. We're working on War Pony, and the tank is one that when Chris went to Paco to pick up the frame in Nevada, they had a scrap pile of metal, and this tank was laying in it. And Chris was like, "What are you going to do with that tank?"
Well, and I liked it because, this motorcycle, I said it was a 2003 Ultra. It's already fuel injected. I don't want to take the fuel injection off because the motor was already crazy fast. Danny from Zippers had taken it personally, and he put one of their auto tuners on it, and it was crazy, crazy fast. So I want to keep the fuel injection, but I wanted a tank with a cool shape. Now, Paco has this one, and it takes the style fuel injection pump that slips in from the bottom like a Sportster. So you get to have a little bit smaller of a tank with a cool shape. And I saw this thing laying there like this, and I'm like, I was going to do that by hand. I was going to take a touring tank and split it in the middle and cut it down. And I looked at that, and I was like, well, man, half the work's done with that. I said, hey, what are you guys doing with that tank? They're like, oh, we're just playing around with something. We're throwing that away. And I was like, just throw it right in the truck because we'll take it and figure it out.
And now, and then you just start thinking. Chris has a vision. This is going to be his bike when it's done. He has a vision for what he wants it to look like. And so just little things. You take some round stock. You find that we didn't.
Yeah, and if
we didn't
you
have a
guys-
fancy. We didn't have our Eastwood round stock bending machine.
If you guys weren't here yesterday to see this part of it, I talked about the fact that you can have all the tools in the world, but really what matters is the determination and figuring stuff out. I knew I needed a circle about this big and I needed a circle about that big. So we found 2 things that we could clamp down to the table. We measured out about how much rod we were going to need, and we just bent them around that. And then in a little bit of time, once we get that thing together and it's the right size and the right shape, we start forming it. And you can see how we're laying that in so it forms against the tank. And that's just little tweaks over the knee, little tap here and there, working on the anvil, so you get that to lay onto the tank real nice. When we're done, we come in with the silica bronze and smooth that all out, and it gives you a nice, like, faux Frenched in look, because this part of the tank will actually look like it was cut out and dropped in. And it's a great trick. It's a real quick, easy way to make it more dimensional.
Yeah, because if you're not going to do it that way, that's a quick, easy trick. Because if you're not going to do it that way, there's a gajillion different ways you can do it. You can just cut that panel out from both sides, flip them over, weld them back in. But that's
Pat
hard.
Patterson, that was up here yesterday from Lead Sled, one of his most prominent builds is a bike called what was the
Whiskey Bent?
Jeff Shovel that Pat built? Mercury bike.
Yep.
And he actually took a tank like this and they cut this part out like I'm doing and then made about a 1.5 inch, 2 inch piece so that it set down in just like I'm doing. Way, way better look, probably 200 hours worth of work.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to achieve that look.
Yeah, and on the centerpiece here, they actually morphed in a Mercury valve cover. So that's where the name Mercury bike came.
This is just a great way that anybody, I mean, you learn how to tack something together. You can accomplish that look on a tank really very inexpensively.
Yeah, a couple pieces of rod and
an old tank.
Frustration. You got to pay for it in frustration.
Yeah.
Because not everything works right the first time, trust me.
No, these little pieces here yesterday, we had 5 of us standing around looking at these things, trying to figure out how to contour them. I felt like a government crew. We were all standing around just looking at it. And we had 16 different ways to do it. And then
we ended up using 15 of them.
And we used all of them. We just ended up let's bend it over the leg. Let's heat it up. Let's put it on the bag. Let's tweak it in the vise. And all of those things ended up making it happen. So it was nice. Chris, we've got about 8 minutes.
Okay. So I'm just going to show you guys some other stuff that we're working on. On the War Pony, if you guys notice, especially old chopper guys, one of the tricks we used to do was we'd take an old FLH front fender, and for a little sporty look, we'd flip that around backwards, cut off some of the pieces of the tail of it, and use it for a back fender for a bike like this. Then in the same regard, we're actually taking a chopper back fender, and we're going to use it for our front fender. So obviously, this thing is going to need a lot of work as far as shaping it into what a front fender would look like. We're going to radius this here, probably back to this B line. We were figuring out how long we wanted it to be. I actually had Lead Sled take this for us. This is a 6-inch fender. They spun one for us, 5.5, to give us a little more clearance. And now we're going to start figuring out how to put this thing on and get it mounted.
We still have up here on the stage some Eastwood catalogs. If you guys don't know, I didn't know this, we didn't know this. Eastwood has kind of been the go-to supplier for the automotive industry, for the garage builder in particular, but also lots of shops around the country for tools and that kind of stuff. But now they're starting to have retail locations, and Cleveland is one of 3 in North America. SEMA did a study, a big automotive group, did a study and found out that Cleveland is the number 3 market for automotive repair and customization. So they actually, and so in Parma, they now have a brick and mortar store, and I think I've got one left because it's in my pocket. At someplace. We've got some stickers that Tom from the store has written 10% off on, so that you can get 10% off. And if we need more of those, Tom will be able to help with that. But so anyway, we appreciate Tom coming from Eastwood and helping us out. Giving Bruce, he gave a young guy a TIG lesson earlier, so that was really nice. one of the things with TIG welding, MIG welding, yeah, it's wire fed, and I was going to say sloppy. It's a messier, a little cruder form of welding. Works great if you're welding on things that don't really need to be cosmetic or aren't going to get body worked, because, you know, trailers, that kind of stuff, undercarriages, stuff like that. TIG welding is a more refined form of welding. One of the good things about MIG welding is you can fill gaps with it. If you have a hole in something, or some two pieces don't fit correctly, you can feed that wire in there and you can build that up and actually make metal. You can build your own kind of filler for that. TIG welding does not like dirt, and MIG welding, you can weld on stuff not that's really dirty, but it's more forgiving with dirt. TIG welding requires a very sterile atmosphere. It has to be very clean, and it doesn't fill gaps very well at all. And so with that's why we're taking the time with this rolled piece on the side to get it so it fits really nice, so that, for two reasons. One, because we want it to be right. The other thing is we're going to be TIG welding that onto there. We're going to be TIGging it, and we just don't want a gap to be around there. Makes me nervous having Tom from Eastwood that teaches welding there stand behind me while I'm talking about welding now. It's like giving a presentation in chemistry, you know, with Albert Einstein behind you. Did he do chemistry? I don't know. He was a smart guy. He did math. Yeah, I can't do math either.
You're a good talker, though.
I make noise with my face hole, and they say, I like doing that better than being in the shop too, because this doesn't make me bleed. I bleed in burn. Tom was talking earlier that your TIG wire, when it gets hot. I mean, the heat obviously radiates up it. Tom says he burns himself in the neck all the time because he'll go to look and he gets himself across the neck. I always lean in and do this, and it burns a hole in my shirt, and I burn myself. I got scars all over. I take my shirt off. I was going to say I look like those guys in Gladiator, but it's not the exact same look. I got the same scars. I don't take my shirt off in public very often, sir.
Beautiful.
You want me to? Sir, that's rude. Don't ask that. No. This guy's like, what are you talking about? I don't want you to take your shirt off. It's the last day here in Cleveland. We'll spice it up a little bit, huh? I'm about to pass it back to you. Again, we got Eastwood catalogs here. That was my point of telling you about the Eastwood store. We got catalogs up here, and I think I got one 10% off coupon left.
Auction it off.
Oh, I got two. Hey. So I'll set these up here. These are Eastwood stickers. You pull this off, it's sticky on the back, and it adheres to things. Right? Pretty obvious. You want one of those? Two, please. You want a catalog? Then don't take another one. No, I was just kidding. He got nervous. It's funny. You yell at him a lot, though. I see. You can see that. Yeah, he gets yelled at a lot. Well, I looked in his eyes. He needs to be yelled. Yeah, I can tell. He's kind of got that. He got an F. What are you doing? In what class? You hear that? I'm going through puberty. My voice. No, that's 5 o'clock in the morning drinking too much. Don't do that. Stupid Pat Patterson kept me out. What class was it? Math. Well, I went to the North Carolina math competition when I was in high school, and we had to go around the auditorium and tell them what our grade was in the math we were taking. And everybody was like, I'm in calculus, I have a 98. I'm in geometry, I have a 96. Right. I'm not even sure why they sent me to the math competition. I said, I'm in geometry, and I got a 27. Yeah. So Chris has some good stuff there. We got